Yo, press record. What's up? You're listening to Zero to X. My name is Daniel, and today with me, as always,
Hey guys, it's Amara.
you said your name.
I said my name.
Guys, that's a joke because we just tried to record this episode and I almost forgot to say his name.
Man.
How was your week, man?
It was not as productive as I wanted, honestly.
Okay.
With things with regard to fitness, with regards to work, like those were like generally productive, yeah. But I just found that like every other thing I've been adding to my plate, I had to really sit down this week and really assess. And part of what I discovered was that I add stuff. So I work with Evernote and I work with Notion.
Notion, yeah.
So problem. I add stuff to my plate on Notion. That's what I realized this week. That sometimes I add stuff to my plate on Notion and I don't factor it because Evernote is where I actually do the breakdown of the to-dos. I don't use Notion for that, which is weird. Some people wonder, like, why don't you just use Notion for all of that? You get? But I like to keep what I do on Notion it helps my brain compartmentalize. You get? But yeah, so I found that I was adding stuff to Notion to my plate. I wasn't factoring them into my actual day-to-day to-dos. And it was making me look at every day and just be like, bro, how is this day flying by? And I'm struggling to fit in stuff like, let's say, finding time for zero. I only just figured out how to properly add zero to X work this week or last week. Did you get?
Interesting.
So yeah, and it was a bit tough for me mentally. I didn't really go think about it deeply.
Yeah.
I didn't. But using this podcast as the avenue now, I'm saying that there was just a lot going on in my head, and I feel like I lost how do they say it again? I let go of things. Like I didn't have a grip on everything. You get on everything with regards to my work. And I don't know what I'll attribute it to because it's weird, especially because you would think that once those things are unlocked, they will continue to be unlocked.
Yeah.
But yeah, I lost the grip for a bit. And it's not that things didn't happen during the week. It's just, I look back on the week and it's not as good as I would have wanted it to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hear that, man.
Yeah.
I hear that.
How was your own week?
Bro, my week was, my bosses were back from Lagos, so it was... It was insane.
Guys, it's typically crazy when Daniel's bosses are in Lagos.
Yeah, there was a lot to do. There was obviously the excitement of seeing ourselves because we don't get to see like as much in the year because they're not based here. So, but seeing each other was great. Seeing ourselves was great. But then the work, bros.
Yeah.
Bro, everybody's angry, man.
They're coming back with truckload of
Everybody's angry, man. Everybody wants to blow. Like you just that kind of thing. You just sit down and look at yourself, like, is this the will of God for me in Christ Jesus? I'm just suffering now. I'm suffering. This brokenness that I'm broken. This cannot be God's will for me. So it's just in the process of all of the things that we're trying to build, all the things we need to have unlocked, the things that are coming from, like, bro, it's like straight bullet everywhere, like, and you just have to like do this. You know that thing in the Matrix where the guy's just like Keanu Reeves is just like catching up. I'm like, that's literally what we're doing right now. But I think one of the things I'm happy about the approach that we're taking is that we are still intentionally carving out time for proactive work. So to do the things that are important and not just urgent.
Yeah.
So that's going to be interesting to see. I'm excited about what we're building there. Yeah. For sure.
I like that. Like with this podcast, we are able to practicalize the concept of importance and urgency.
Bro, that's that. Being able to process knowledge, is probably one of the biggest superpowers.
It is a superpower
after discipline.
It is a superpower.
Like it's discipline, ability to process knowledge for me. Like, and it's not a cliche thing or a smart thing to say in the moment. It actually is those two things because discipline ensures that you have the ability to do what you say you would do. Being able to process knowledge means that, okay, you're taking information that can cause change and you can apply that information, and then you see the change that you want.
Yes.
I think if you have those two things on lock, you are in a very prepared state.
Yeah, I think about.
You're in a very leveraged position to.
I think about what Steve Covey said in the book Seven Habits, guys.
Seven Habits of Highly Effective People.
And in the book, he mentioned that if you one very practical way to imbibe knowledge is the moment you learn something, teach it to someone.
Exactly. Teach it to someone else.
So it does, but the when you think about the concept, you see that it's not so much about the teaching, but about trying to make it your own and narrate it, because that's the thing with teaching. When you want to teach something, you have to actually. Is that teaching is really a test of comprehension?
Yeah, you have to.
So you have to be sure that I can break this down in a way that makes sense to me and makes sense to this
100%,
person.
100%.
So, and that's why I like the things we talk about on this podcast, because the more we talk about them, the more they make a lot more sense to us. They become one with us.
They become one, bro. Yeah. It's the absolute truth. It's the absolute truth. Like, guys, full disclosure, before Amara and I figured out what to talk about today, it took a while because we didn't want to risk sounding repetitive, like we're saying the same things over again, even though that is necessary.
Yes.
It's necessary to say the same things because human beings, we know they hear word.
Yeah.
It's not one time, it's not two times. Like, you need to be reminded of the things that you know to be true, and you know what would help you make progress in life consistently.
Yeah.
But it was a thing where, bro, it's like, bro, what are we actually going to share today? And I told Amara that I know what my problem is, why it's the same thought, because I told him I'm in a state where there are things I'm reinforcing in my mind. So all I'm consuming are these things, things around focus, things around discipline, things around mindset, things around drive. If you go back the last 8 to 10 episodes, you find out that that's all I've been saying. Especially when referencing the things that are going on with me personally. Like, I'm just in that space where I'm just marinating in it. Like, I was telling Amara, I'm hyper aware of the things that are on my mind. I was telling him the story of how I went to play basketball yesterday. I went to watch, but as always, I ended up playing because I miss basketball. So, and I was like, I found out that recently I was challenging myself. I'm 5'9", guarding bigger guys that are 6'4", 6'5", 6'6". Yeah, guarding them in the post. And someone that watches basketball or knows a little bit about basketball will know that can be challenging for a shorter guy.
Yes.
So, and I was like, my goal, my focus on offense, I'm pretty decent, but on defense, I was giving myself a challenge. So, the moment I started guarding these guys, to my credit, they stopped being efficient. They weren't scoring as much. They were literally not in
Daniel
the game.
Bad guy.
Bro, I just took them out the game, man. And that's been it. So the moment they see me coming in, they're like, oh my God, problem. That's literally their reaction. So it was now the very last possession of the game. Yeah, it was like 6-6. It was a set to 7. Like 6-6. That was the only time I just looked away small from the guy. I had guarded, the guy had not scored. I had guarded him perfectly up until that time. But for whatever reason, I just looked away. Before I looked back, the guy had run. Before I could catch up to him to disturb him, he just, that kind of Hail Mary shot that you just throw. You don't know whether it's going to enter
or not.
Or you just shall trade because this problem of a human being is coming to disturb me.
Yeah.
He just threw it and it went in and they won the set 7-6. And I was like, and my teammates were like, you didn't box him out. And I was like, yeah, no. None of you were playing defense, so to be fair, they were not playing defense on their own guys. Like, because their own guys were still scoring and whatnot. I was playing defense on my guy. And they were like, guy, you had been boxing him out, but just this once that he now saw the. And I was like, this thing I told you, I've been telling him, Amara knows I've been talking about this a lot, especially with the NBA playoffs being on. Focus and staying locked in. There is a mental state you have to be in to see things through. The moment you find that mental state where you are your most effective, where you are your most high performing, you need to lock that in. You need to freeze it. Bro. You need to freeze it.
It's kind of like what I just said now at the beginning of the podcast about like losing the grip on things.
Losing
That's
the grip on
exactly
things.
what it's like.
You need to freeze that, and sustain it. That initial grab you had when you were thinking of the project, when you got the idea in the first place, and you were writing, you need to freeze them. Like, if you can bottle that moment and just be drinking it every time, like, and you need to apply it. That's what you need to do. So I intentionally wanted, I'm in this phase of my life where I want to make big, drastic changes quickly. I don't understand that there is process and whatnot.
Yes.
But the process has to answer to me. I'm pulling an Elon Musk. I'm imposing my will. I'm imposing my will. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So I've been marinating in these ideas, the same things we've been saying over and over again. So I told him, bro, if you ask me to talk about anything again, it's the same thing I've been saying the last 10 to 15 episodes.
I read a quote
and I'm going
somewhere.
to say it again.
I can't remember who said it, but I read a quote somewhere that one way to grow is to find good food and just keep feeding on it.
That's it.
Good food, in this case, being intellectual and mental. And psychological. Like
the thoughts, the ideas.
Bro, just find good food, keep feeding.
Just keep
feeding.
Bro,
it's
continuing to stay in these things over and over again and practice over and over and over again. So, guys, being able to process knowledge is a superpower. Like the moment there is, like, I want to solve a problem. Like I know we talked about, there was a time we talked about, I think it was the 4th episode, mentorship. And now I had an interesting thought or perspective about mentorship. It was in the first 4 episodes. I know it was not the first, it was like the 2nd or 3rd or 4th. It was one of them. So before I tried to start having like physical mentor relationships, I found out that my mentors were books, were people through their books. I used to read like I don't want to curse, but I used to read a whole lot. I'm getting back to that now. So, and the thing is that I knew the things I liked, I knew the things I wanted to focus on. So I would read sometimes if I didn't have a thing to learn particularly, I'll just read and skim out. I enjoyed the knowledge and things being reinforced. Inadvertently, they were just being reinforced. So when I had a problem or a crisis to deal with, I knew where in the book to go. Bro, one was like clockwork. There was a volunteer group I was leading back in school and we're in a crisis. I just thought of 2 laws, the law of vision, the law of the big picture, 21 laws of leadership, John Maxwell. I found out that I had to make this really drastic change to do something and that could entirely mess up the dynamic, the backbone, the fundamental of everything that I had built in the last 3 years. And I was like, I have to sell this vision like See, bro, those two chapters, those 2 laws.
I know the stories there.
I sat down with, bro, 30 days. I read those 2 chapters for 30 days, the whole of January 2018. I read those 2 chapters. Like, I'll just that and that.
I think those contain
30 days.
Contain some of his best stories.
30 days to deliver a 5-minute speech.
To call your leaders.
To tell my leaders and my people that this is how this used to be. This is what made us successful. We are getting rid of what made us successful and doing something else entirely.
Like what got us 0 to 100 is not going to get us
to
1,000.
And people were sentimentally attached to that thing.
It
was a make or break. It was like, this entire thing can go to shit. Literally. I spent maybe like 30 minutes to an hour every day reading 2 chapters to prepare for a 5-minute speech. By the time I was done, the first question was, so where do we sign up to volunteer? I was like, mission accomplished.
Love it.
Mission, that's what processing knowledge is. I know the crazy thing is, my assistant at the time, had tried to break the news to a smaller subset of our people, but it was chaos.
It will be chaos.
Bro, it was chaos, man.
Like, I like how John Maxwell pointed out in that book, because like it made me realize so much that if you don't go about these kinds of drastic changes very carefully, if you don't navigate it properly,
that's the end. It's gone.
You will lose trust with your people.
100%.
100%. Crazy, man.
So being able to process knowledge. Guys, this is why we read. It's not just to be knowledgeable and have interesting conversations. That definitely can be refreshing. Do you get? Like, recording this podcast never feels like work because Amara and I have been having these conversations for like 4 years now.
I'm so glad it never feels like work.
Bro.
Because I have enough.
Do you understand? Do you understand?
Enough.
So,
I need to digress. Because, you know what pains me? Because then I like, you know how a lot of things get a bad rap very quickly, especially when everybody's jumping on them. And it's kind of like the whole podcast thing where like at some point everyone's like, oh yeah, everybody's starting the podcast. Every day there's a new podcast.
Every bloody day there's a new podcast.
Exactly. But I'm like, if you think about it, for half of those people, it's actually probably work.
Yeah.
I'm just like, God, thank you. This one's no work.
This one is not work, man.
Bro.
Guy.
I can't even imagine.
Imagine having to.
If this was work,
Huh.
I don't know that we would make it far. Because,
Yeah.
But yeah, finding good food.
Bruh.
Feeding on it.
Staying with it, man. Like,
and I think it's very, this thing you said, again, it could be possible for people to miss the self-awareness that's involved. That's involved. When you think about knowing the mental state, you see that this mental state is enabling you to be a high performer. But if you don't take account or take stock of the exact stuff you did that got you there, the exact thought processes and all of those things that got you there, it could be possible that as much as you feel locked in, weeks down the line or months down the line, you slowly and gradually drift away from that mental
very,
state.
very, very, very
so
possible.
Self-awareness is super important.
Incredible. That's why it was one of the... See, that self-awareness podcast, I think we recorded it twice.
No,
or was it once? Just once. Okay, I think it was one of the ones that we're happy that, okay, we did a near decent job with it.
Yeah.
But I remember that we almost had, before we shot it, so Amara and I knew two things. A lot of the things that we're going to talk about in this podcast would be based, or not necessarily based, self-awareness would help or elevate the effects of the things that we're like trying to share. And without self-awareness, you might not be able to do a lot of things. It won't make as much sense. It won't mean as much. It won't make as much of an impact to you without that self-awareness. So we try to do it as quickly as we can and in the most informed way we could at that point in time. So like that self-awareness bit of it, like we knew. Like it was one of the times we didn't struggle for a topic to talk about. And we actually, it was one of the ones we probably sat down to think through a little more, the points that we wanted to share. We'll probably have to redo that again in future.
You get. And that's the beauty about these episodes, is the more we get knowledge, the more we see
100%
we need to refine certain
conversations. This just reinforces what I said, that, bro, topics in my head, they're probably there. There are probably other interesting conversations to have. But this in particular it's the thing I'm marinating in this phase of, this is why I need to lock. Every little thing I'm seeing, everything I'm involved with, I'm seeing this very same thought process. I'm seeing these very same principles work. And when they don't work, I can see why it didn't work. I can attribute it to this. So it's kind of like acting like the moment you start thinking of red cars, you start seeing red cars everywhere. They call it's called the reticular activation cortex. So the moment you start thinking of something, you just start seeing it everywhere. So in my own way, that is what it is for me. Like I'm just in this phase where, like, I was talking to my assistant, and I was telling her, see, bro, if you don't want to be frustrated working for me or working with me in this period, this is where my mind is at. I had a conversation with him last week. This is where my mind is at. Be intentional, number one. Be very detail-oriented when it comes to executing things. Be intentional, be detail-oriented. When it comes to actually working, focus and being locked in. Like, it's not, they're not cliche statements, man. Like, they're not cliche. See, I went through, because I do a lot of stuff with Notion, and I have some stuff coming up in the background. I've shared a little bit of it with Amara. So I do a lot of stuff with Notion. So I've been reviewing a lot of like templates, going through a lot of workflows. So like these 4 things I just mentioned have been on my mind. The first two, intentionality and attention to detail, when it talks of things around leadership and project management. Those are the 2 things I'm focusing on. The other 2 things are focus, being locked in. Like, and they're 2 different things. I promise you, they're not the same thing. I holding them so dearly, like I am hyper focusing on them because I know that these are the things I need the most right now in my life in terms of leadership and product management and then day-to-day execution. And I feel sometimes like people might think, oh, we've heard this so many times. Bro, it's not cliche, I promise you. I honestly feel everybody needs to have an ethos for a phase of life that they're in. That's watchword, that creed. You know how they do family creeds for nights and this is what we live by. This is what we know what's for. Do you understand? Bro, like you have to be a person. You have to have a quote,
bro.
You need to have a quote.
It honestly makes me wonder how people who I haven't thought about these kinds of things are doing it. There's probably other ways to achieve levels of insane efficiency. Because I'm just like, I see the importance. It is super important to have that ethos, to have that. Because, bro, they're plastered all over my Notion.
Guys, if you open Amara's mark like this, it's just this visual board.
Bro, because like, nah.
You need to have that ethos, man.
There's times I need to remind myself of the high. There was a high. I was at a high. When I wrote certain things down.
100%.
Do you get me? And today I'm going through a low, and I'm just like, nah. Let's go back to that high.
Let's go back to that high.
Let's look at that high.
That's where you need to be. That's where you need to be. That's why, bro, like 100%.
So
that's
yeah,
what you need to be.
They might look cliche, they might sound cliche, but
when you hyper focus on things, like there is a lot more color. Like there might just be. I'm sure you've probably experienced this on a day-to-day in your life, where you've seen the sky plenty times. You've probably seen sunset plenty times. But there's one day you just look up and you actually just be still and say, "Wow."
Yeah.
It's always been there.
Yeah, everybody has that.
Yeah, you've had that moment at least once or twice, a couple of times in your life.
Yeah.
You've seen that thing for the 10 or 15 or 20 or 30 or 40 years that you've been, or however long you've lived. You've always known that thing was there. But there's just a time that thing means a little more than it did before. It was always there. It didn't change. It didn't get better. So it's the same thing with this ethos. Yeah, like, what is that thing that you're trying to deal with in your life? That thing that you need to shake, that thing that you need to improve on. Yeah. What is the solution? What is the mindset of that thing being solved? What is the quality of you that becomes that overcomes that challenge, that limitation? Yeah. Whatever that ethos is, bro, you have to hold it with it has to be your gospel. Bro, it has to be your gospel truth. Like that's the only thing that matters in the world.
Bro.
That's how you know a focused person. They just keep saying the same thing annoyingly over and over again. Go ahead.
Simon Sinek mentioned something. It was a video I caught a glimpse of on Instagram, and I don't know what the video was about. But he made a point, and I want to ask it with regards to this.
Yeah.
The problem with focus. And the problem with hyperfocus too. Being that they come at a price.
Okay.
So, for example, if you achieve some amazing success, which is the point we made some episodes ago, about how you must really ask yourself if you really want to be number one in your field.
It's not easy. It's not easy.
The prices are steep.
The price is steep. It's not easy. It's not easy.
So it's just kind of like, when you focus this much, something takes the heat. And so the question would be, how do you control what you make suffer? Like it's kind of like,
that's interesting. I know what you mean. I think I know what you mean. That's interesting. There is something Alex Hermosi called the season of no.
Okay.
It's one of his shorts on YouTube or Instagram. It says the season of no. These things are, so it's one of two things. Number one, there are cases where it'll have to be a drastic lifestyle change.
You're suggesting the season now?
No, I'm suggesting two things.
Okay.
I'm suggesting times. The first case is, depending on what the cases are nuanced, the circumstances are nuanced.
Okay.
But if it's a situation where you need to make an overhaul, like it's an entire change of lifestyle, an entire change of outlook and whatnot. Things will not even survive, they will burn.
Yes, agreed.
So that is you literally being an architect. This was a beautiful context you shared with me, being the designer and the worker
of your life.
Powerful. It's a powerful context. Like you have being the designer is like you have a bird's eye view of yourself.
Yeah.
And then being an architect is the actual operations of it. So as a designer, you can it's a beautiful concept.
Yeah.
It's exactly the same thing in this first case. You literally decide, these are the elements I want in my life.
Yeah. So you design.
You are designing this.
Okay. Cool.
So that's one case.
So part of the design would mean that you will construct what you
exactly
what you can tolerate.
So see, at this point, you're not even thinking about the things you don't want. You're not thinking about them in the first place.
Yes, you're thinking
all
about
of this is what you want.
Yes, the goals.
Yeah, the goals. I'm putting this, I want this for work, I want this for fulfillment, I want this in relationships, I want this in friendships, I want this in hobbies, I want this in as a career, I want this as leaders, I want this in faith or whatever. It's a design. You are changing your life. That's what that is. The second case where it needs to be a specific intervention in a particular focus area. Oh yeah, no, things will suffer. You need to know things will no, bro. That amount of focus.
My issue is, are people willing to pay that price?
Are you willing to change your life? The problem has not tired you enough. Like, I'm not sorry. I'm not going to baby you. I will encourage you. I will hold you up, my guy, my babe. But are you willing? Are you ready to change your life? Like it's a thing in season. It's kind of like an intervention.
I think it makes sense to think about them in season.
Yeah, it's kind of like an intervention where all you're doing is focusing on these things and on certain things. And part of what you should be thinking about is building what will be sustainable, what will sustain and enhance those results that you want to see and make them near permanent or as permanent as they can be.
Yeah.
So those are two ways to think about it. Like the hyper focus on certain things, absolutely. Like for a season, I just need to work on this. Yeah. If you need to communicate with certain people in your lives, like your friends, your guys, your partner, whatever that looks like, let them know what's going on. Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't mean that you're going to be a klutz or anything, but
I think this is important. Yeah.
Yeah. Like let them know what's going on. Give people
expectations so that they adjust their expectations as well.
And I hope, I think Amara and I have said this before, I hope you have the right quality of people around you that will understand he needs to do this.
Yeah.
She needs to do this. And I will support him or her.
Many people that understand.
However, no. Maybe it's a hint.
It could be a hint that you might need to get more quality.
That's it.
Yeah, true.
That's it.
True. Okay.
The whole point is that like we want to come out of this process at the end of the day net positive.
Yeah.
Like the improvements we want, the things we didn't know that needed to be cut off, they should be cut off.
Fair point.
Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
Point.
So the point is, do you consider this a worthy enough change? Are you angry enough at this particular situation to want to make that? I think you should be my guy. Because a problem you don't solve today will come and you don't care and you leave unsolved, will come and meet you back in 3 years.
Normal.
And it will be more annoying then.
Yeah. It's always the thing I say about how if you don't start now, a year from now, you will ask yourself why you didn't start earlier. I don't know who the exception to this is.
See, bro, I don't think there is anybody that's an exception. See, I feel like people need to have guys, if you can do this, please do. Every single thing, this could bring so much healing and release to a lot of people. Especially if you feel like you have so much to give, but you're not seeing so much results. For whatever reason, it might be an incredible combination of the circumstances and your environment around you, and sometimes your own laziness and procrastination, or you not just being the quality of person that can deliver the change or the results you know you're capable of. But I need you, write every single thing down that you regret. Every single thing that you think you fumbled or you messed up. Write everything down.
People that say they don't have regrets, uncle.
No, in the case of this, this thing that you feel like you did not start, no, you have.
Okay, cool.
You have or you are lying.
Yeah.
Or you are just phrasing it differently.
Yeah.
But the fundamental thing is that there's something you wish you had handled differently or something you wish you turned out differently. And there was input you could have had that could have made that thing turn out differently. That's the context. That's the fundamental premise. So whatever you want to call it, regret, lesson, whatever, blah, blah, blah. No, stay in the frame of mind that you need to be. But the point is, whatever thing you wish you had acted differently with or about, that you feel is still somewhere in your mind. Yeah, some people might not have it because they have done this process. They have unconsciously forgiven themselves for it. Do you understand? That might be the reason why they don't have it. But they would have dealt with it, except like you are telling me that you were the combination of Confucius, Aristotle, Buddha, Jesus Christ, everybody from the beginning till they born you. Do you understand? Except that was it. Then we should be learning from you.
We all are. When are you holding your next master class?
We should be learning from you. But if you're like us mere mortals,
yes, so
there are those things that you wish you had handled differently. And sometimes, depending on how you work through your emotions and thoughts, they can really eat away at you.
Yeah.
So do me and Amara and yourself mostly a favor. write these things down. Like, this is a moment of release.
Yeah.
Write these things down. Yeah. Read everything line for line and say, I forgive myself for fumbling this. I forgive myself for not starting to post on social media because I was scared of what people would think. Say it. I forgive myself from this. I forgive myself for this. I forgive myself for this. I messed this up. I'm sorry to myself. I'm sorry to the people that are disappointed. But this is mostly for you to release yourself.
Yeah.
The moment you've done it, burn the paper. Throw it away.
And do better.
It's done and do better. Never think about it. Don't never let. This is not what you say. I don't have any regrets. Not with them.
Yeah.
Forgive yourself for it and then move on. And then now you just move on to like acting the way you were supposed to in the first place. That's it.
I did, as much as this wasn't the plan for this conversation, I actually enjoyed the direction this took, and I was able to take one or two things away. Guys, we also hope that you were able to take stuff away, man.
100%.
We also hope you were able to take
100%.
stuff
We
away.
hope that this doesn't stop being useful to you.
Yes.
Like, you're always like, do you know what I would like for this podcast is to get to? Someone is having a bad day and you just want to listen to Daniel and Amara talk.
That's bro.
That's
powerful.
pretty incredible.
That's powerful.
That would be pretty incredible.
That's
like,
powerful.
you're just having a bad day. You just you just need to be around the right kind of energy.
Yeah.
I'm just going to listen to zero. You don't even need to be talking about my specific problem. Just be talking. Do you understand? That's where we hope to get to, at least personally. Because
no.
Us being able to share that healing, that encouragement, that support.
Yeah.
That's kicking the ass when you need it, man. That's what this is about. So, guys, we hope this doesn't stop being. This never stops being useful.
Thank you for making this a part of your day.
Yeah, thank you for making this a part of your day. So yeah, we will definitely see you in the next one.
Cheers, guys.
Take care, guys.